What's up, everybody? It's your girl Drea, and welcome back to Lounge with Drea. I'm super excited that you guys have decided to hang out with me today. Uh, You know, so relax, get you a glass of wine, and there's a very special topic that I want to talk about today.
Boy, now you make me float, float, boy, really keep me high. Ooh.
So, today I want to talk about setting boundaries. Setting boundaries. Let's say it again for the people in the back that did not hear us. Setting boundaries. So, what that means is whether you're setting boundaries with your friends, setting boundaries with your family, setting boundaries with coworkers, setting boundaries. And what I mean by that is sometimes I feel like we allow the people that we have close relationships with to one feel obligated because of the type of relationship, or two, they feel like, they can say disrespectful things because of the nature of the relationship. So let's say setting boundaries, and let's start normalizing apologizing instead of just pretending like nothing ever happened and moving forward within the relationship. So, again, what I mean by that is I feel like, for instance, like parents, right? I feel like when we grow into adults, we don't set boundaries with our parents, and those boundaries need to be set. I hear a lot of times where people will say, oh, I raised you since you were 18, so that parent feels like their child is obligated to do for them because they're now an adult, because they're able to do for themselves. And it's like, if we're being honest, like, no, I didn't ask to be here. And when you decided to have me, it was your responsibility to raise me for, what they say, till the legal age of 18. But that doesn't mean that once your child turns 25, 26, 27, that they should be taking care of you because you raised them. Parents also need to stop normalizing, oh, I brought you into this world and I will take you out. For the simple fact is that, okay, well, yes, you got away with it as when I was a child, but now that I'm an adult, it's just like, let's be adults. Like, you can't continue to be disrespectful, and then at that point it turns into a toxic relationship. But it is okay. It is okay to set boundaries. Even with your friends, like, I feel like a lot of times, you know, we try to hold on to these friendships because we've been friends with this person for so long. But in reality, it's like, maybe that friend isn't driven. Maybe that friend doesn't have the determination. Maybe that friend is really just stuck in their old ways and they're not open to growth and they're just okay with doing the bare minimum. And you feel like that friendship is just kind of dragging along. It's okay to still be friends with that person, but it is also still okay to set that boundary and to kind of distance yourself from that person so you can be almost free with your life, right? And that's not to say like, oh, you should leave the people behind because they aren't where you are. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you feel like you have a relationship with someone and that person is not necessarily doing what they should be doing, or you feel like that person is not at their full potential, because of the other people that they hang around or because of the relationships that they are in, it is okay to step back, because at the end of the day, you don't ever want somebody in your life to be dragging you down. And I'm not saying cut that person off, but what I'm saying is it's okay to set those boundaries, to be like, you know what? I've been trying to have these conversations with you. I've been trying to, you know, work on this relationship, but you aren't seeming to change. That's like me, for instance. I was friends with someone, and this person was in a relationship but always cheating. Always cheating. Like in a relationship but cheating. I was also in a relationship and I just noticed that, like, you know, those same friends kind of say, "Oh, come do this with me." And I'm just like, "No, it's not right." Like, at some point you have to grow up, and I just couldn't allow myself to be in that person's life at the same capacity than what I was before. But that's okay. I had to learn how to set those boundaries. It was okay for me to find out how they were doing every now and then. But at the same time, it was like, okay, you need to, what you're doing isn't right. And that's okay. It's okay to set those boundaries. Um, and again, I said set boundaries, but also normalize apologizing instead of just acting like the thing never happened. And I feel like that happens a lot. I feel like it happens a lot. I feel like, um, you know, we find ourselves in friendships, or we find ourselves in arguments or heated disagreements or just disagreements in general. And people will say things, and instead of apologizing, they will just like hit you up randomly and just act like it never happened. And like, make it make sense. Make it make sense, because it doesn't. Like, if you're my friend or if you're somebody in the family, if I tell you that you hurt my feelings, or if you said something that was just dirty, or if you just know that you came at me the wrong way, and if you're just wrong, if you know you're just flat out wrong, apologize. We're human, right? We make mistakes in ways very often when we disagree or when we feel like something is not right. We say things out of feelings. And then when we come back to realization, more than often we think like, oh my gosh, I really shouldn't have said that. Like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? But yet you won't apologize. Like, you would just rather pretend it never happened, and that's not okay. Because at the end of the day, you hurt my feelings. So you can't come out of your own ego to tell me I'm sorry. And if that is the case, at that point, I now have to take a step back and set those boundaries with you because it's very clear that you don't respect me or respect how I feel. And again, that's okay. Um, I just feel like very often we just allow too many people, again, to make us feel like we're obligated to do things for them because they did something for us, or we're obligated to do something for them because they feel like we're the child. And it's like, no, no, that's not okay. That's not how you treat people. Um, and a lot of people will make you feel like you're the problem when you start to kind of just wean off of the friendship. Because sometimes setting boundaries is not cutting somebody off. That's not necessarily what it is. Setting boundaries for me kind of just looks like, okay, yes, I love you. Yes, I'm friends with you, but I can't share certain happy moments in my life because I've noticed when I do share those happy moments with you, you never say congratulations. I can't come to you about certain things that are happening within my life that are bad because anytime I do, that information was confidential, but it always relays to somebody else now knowing my business. I can't allow for you to just be in my life at a certain capacity for the simple fact is that you did something that I didn't agree with and I let you know how I felt. And not only did you not apologize, but then you manipulated the situation and made it about you. And those are the same people that you have to set boundaries with. Um, and again, it's okay. I feel like often we don't ever want to cut anybody off. We don't ever want to, not be friends with someone. We don't ever want to, cut out family. But I think it needs to be normalized that it's okay that you step back and focus on you. Because a lot of times those relationships become very toxic. It's almost like if you have somebody in your life, right? And say this person, every time, you want to hang out, they always have an excuse, right? And then it becomes a thing where it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to stop asking you to hang out with me because every time I ask you, you just like make up this weird excuse on why you don't want to be there or why you can't go. And it's just like, I'm just going to stop. I can't, why am I always disappointed? Or you have people that are like, oh, yeah, 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 I'm going to come. I'm going to show up. And then they don't show up. But you're supposed to be my friend. And this is a continuous action on like you just not showing up. And then you don't even follow up to say, hey, I can't come. You just don't show up. Or when you do say, hey, I can't come, it's, oh, I'm just tired. Or it's just like, come on. At that point, I'm going to stop inviting you places. But that's a form of setting a boundary. That's a form of saying, like, okay, you know what? Since I can't rely on you, since I can't count on you, I'm going to have to take a step back and start, you know, being around people that I can count on. I feel like sometimes when we do cut people off, they do make us feel like we're the problem, or they say, "Oh, you think," or they say, "Oh, yeah, you've changed," or "You think you're better than me," and it's like, no, I don't think I'm better than you. What I think is that me personally, before I cut somebody off or before I decide that this is how I'm going to move with that person, I have that conversation with them. So I'll just be like, hey, like, this is what happened. This is how I feel. And based off of their response, then I'm like, okay, like, I can't allow for you to dictate my feelings. Because then it comes a thing of like, now I'm upset. And every time you text me, I just have this weird feeling of anxiety because of the simple fact of how you moved with me. Um, a lot of times I feel like we're scared to set boundaries. We're scared of what they might say. We're scared of how they might feel. We're scared because of the depth of the relationship. But at what point do we start to put ourselves first? At what point do we start to say, you know what? I'm not going to allow this anymore for myself. Because in reality, again, those relationships, they're toxic. They're very toxic. And if you, as a female or as a person, if you wouldn't put up with it from a man in your life, if you wouldn't put up with it in a woman in your life, when it comes to like an actual couple relationship, why would you allow it from your friends? Why would you allow it for your family? There's so many, like, I know people, you know, who, let's just say, for instance, whew, I had a conversation with someone, and in a lot of my videos, I talk about how I like to bake and how I want to open up a bakery eventually. And I do have, I take the time and it's a hobby of mine. And I had a conversation with someone and I said, yeah, I want to open a bakery. And this person said, oh, that's the dumbest thing you could ever do. Like, that's not going to work. And I just kind of like looked and I was taken back because I didn't understand if you're supposed to be somebody that claims to love me, but you're not supportive. At that point, I took a huge step back because I realized that you're not really as supportive of my dreams as you say you are. And that's not to say that they meant it that way, but that's how I took it. And on top of that, they never apologized. So at that point, I had to take a step back. I had to stop following up with this person. I had to stop texting them. I had to stop calling them. I had to stop checking up on them because one, my feelings were hurt. And two, I think a lot of people, when they do say things, they don't understand how it could make you feel internally or what that could do as far as like, if you're already having doubt about your talents and now you have somebody saying, oh, then that's not a good idea. Now you feel worse. Now you feel like you're really second guessing yourself on if you can do it. And why would you want that type of person around? Like that's not fair, and it's not fair to you. Um, but that's what I mean. Like setting boundaries with people comes in so many shapes and forms on the relationship that you might have with this person. And it could be something so small. Um, I would just say, for anyone, take a look at, you know, the friends that you share a happy moment with in your life and they don't say congratulations. Or take a look at, you know, the people who even that you can't even share bad news with, or somebody that you can't even tell your business to, or you can't go to advice to, because of the simple fact is that their reaction isn't supportive. Take a look at those people that say, oh, yeah, well, this should be this way, and you should just do this because I've done this for you for so long. And it's like, in reality, if you're the type of person, like you've done something for somebody, I don't count favors. I don't count favors. So it's like one of those things like, yeah, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. But now all of a sudden you want to throw it in my face. Like, are you really my friend? Or are you just trying to get something out of me? Are you doing these things so then in the event that you need like the biggest favor, you can just throw it back in my lap, in my face, and just say, well, you'll have a choice. Like, no, I do have a choice. And my choice now, I can tell that you weren't ever really there for me. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to just, focus on me, focus on what makes me happy. And that is okay. That's okay. It's okay to, if you have a mom or a dad or an aunt or a cousin or a best friend, or, even just like somebody that you feel like isn't moving at the best way for you, it's okay to be like, you know what? I need to take some time for me. I need to take some time for me. But then also watch how things move. Watch how things move. Watch how people be like, oh, you know, you don't hit me up no more. Yeah, because on March 31st, you went off on me about nothing and didn't even apologize. On February 21st, I invited you somewhere all week. You was like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna come. And then come 8 o'clock, you MIA. Funny. I feel very strongly about setting boundaries with people. I've cut so many people off, and I mean, that's just how I decided to move, and that's just decided, that's just what I wanted to do. But I've learned that it's okay. Like, I just had to learn. Like, for example, um, I can use my dad as an example. My dad is somebody I don't really talk about him. Um, we don't have the best relationship, but he's a perfect example of somebody I set a boundary with. I can say that I love my dad, right? My dad was never really around when I was a kid, a child growing up. He started living with me when I was about 13, 14. But that relationship was very rocky. It was a very emotional um, relationship. And just like I feel like as a female or any child really, um, every especially like a daughter, every daughter wants to be daddy's little girl. Like I feel like that's like the ultimate dream is to be daddy's little girl. And I always thought that I was gonna be daddy's little girl until I wasn't, or until it felt like it wasn't. And as much as people can say like, "Oh, I'm always gonna be here. I'm always gonna be here. I'm always gonna be here," being here and showing that you're there are two different things. Um, but I I text my dad happy birthday. I can text my dad happy Father's Day. Um, you know, sometimes I can text him like, "Hey, I'm okay," or "Hey, thank you for sending me this gift," or you know, even sometimes like I really just want to like text my dad and I just want to like tell him like how I'm doing. But I also had to understand that that boundary is different and I can't because of the reaction that I'm going to get from him. And I might not even get a response at all. And I feel like I had to remind myself like I'm always disappointed by the response, that it just makes no sense in doing it. But I had to, again, step back and make myself realize that this is what it is, this is how it's going to be, and it's okay. Like, it's it's okay. As much as we can say like it's okay, is it really okay? Probably not. But it's okay. It's okay for me to not have the best relationship with him. And it's okay for me to understand that, you know, I've never disrespected him. I've never, done anything to him for me to feel like I'm the one wrong in the situation. Again, I just understand the nature of the relationship. But that is okay. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like again, it's just really important to understand. Once you understand like where you are in life, where you're going, where you want to be, you'll understand like who you should allow in, who you should take a step back from. Yeah, that's and I feel like a lot of people go through that. A lot of people are scared because they're scared. It's a scary thing to like, I would say, to be friends with somebody for 20 plus years and now all of a sudden life is progressing, life is going, you're only getting older and you just see this person still in their old ways and you're trying to motivate this person to do better and they're not. So at that point you're just like, I have to take a step back. Like, I love you. I'm still your friend, you know, but I can't allow the relationship to be at the same capacity as it was because we're not the same children that we were. Even with our parents, I think that sometimes, for example, my mom always makes the comment. She's like, yeah, when you used to live in my house, you didn't clean. You didn't And I'm just like, well, I did move out when I was about 21, 22. And I'm not the same child and I'm not the same daughter that I was then that I am now. I understand what responsibility looks like. I understand what cleanliness looks like. And my vision on that looks a lot different. But that's part of growth. That's part of growing. And, sometimes you have to be able to tell people, like, hey, I'm sorry that I'm not that same child, but, we have to move on from the past. That, and a lot of parents, again, they will make the comment, oh, I raised you and you should just stay in a child's place. And a lot of parents feel like they can still talk to you in a disrespectful manner, and that because you're their child, you're not allowed to say anything back. Like, no, no, I'm not gonna let you disrespect me. I'm not gonna let you talk to me any kind of way. I'm not gonna disrespect you, but I'm gonna let you know, like, I'm not a child. I am an adult, and we can either talk about this as adults or we can just not talk at all. And then once you realize what you said to me, and once you realize that you were rude and you were out of line, and then at that point you realize you should apologize to me, then we can have an adult conversation. But you can't talk to me like I'm a child. Like, that's just a very, it's a, like, I feel a lot of parents have very toxic ways. And it's not all of them. It's not all of them. But a lot of parents do have a lot of toxic ways, and they feel like because you are the child, they still want you to stay in a child's place. And it's like, no, we're not doing that. I'm grown, you know. I pay my own bills now. I have my own house now. I do everything and I move in a grown fashion. So I can't allow for you to just talk to me any kind of way, because at the end of the day, like, your parents don't talk to you that way, so why would you talk to me that way? Your parents talk to you like a grown up. They talk to you like you are now the elder. So I would expect the same respect that they give you for you to give to me. And if that's not the case, then yeah, I'm gonna have to like be like, you know what? Until you can realize where you're wrong, and until you can realize that you can't just say anything or disrespect me or tell me what I should be doing, I'm gonna have to take a step back from this relationship. And that's okay. Like, your parents are the main ones, or even like friends, they're the main one that kind of like make you feel bad for doing that. But hey, I gotta do what's best for me, because a lot of times those same situations, they don't just go away. They travel into your older years, and then you're trying to figure out, like, oh my gosh, why do I have anxiety, or why am I depressed? And it's because of those conversations that you're having. And it becomes so normalized for us to just take it, take it, take it, take the hit, take the hit, take the hit. And then we're like breaking down, and we're in this space where we're like finding ourselves like crying, or we're finding ourselves really, really depressed, and we don't know why. And 9 times out of 10, that's the reason. That's the reason, because we've allowed for somebody to continuously break us down in a form where it doesn't feel that way, because it's so normal and because that's what we're used to, that we never ever, we always think like what's wrong, when really that's the problem. That's the real issue. That's the real issue. And then again, they don't apologize. I understand, like, it's hard. When you say something like, say for instance you're in a heated argument, right? And you say, you ain't shit. You ain't never gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the reason why you got this, and I'm the reason why you got that, and I'll take this from you, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. And then at that point, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. it's hard to apologize, right? It's hard to be like, oh, I was wrong. I was wrong. And then you kind of like sit on it, right? You just kind of, that person kind of just sits on the apology, and then they're like, maybe it'll go away. Maybe if I just, give it a week, or they'll tell their friends, oh, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. I don't care. She'll be fine. When that same person doesn't understand how that might make you feel, especially when that relationship is supposed to be a very strong one. The other side is just like, oh, that person, they'll be fine, whatever, I don't care. While you're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't talk to people that way. I don't, you know, I try to do my best to do what's right and say what's right, and I don't raise my voice. I try to have a conversation with someone, and this person can give, excuse my language, two shits about, what they just said. And then come back 2 weeks later like, hey, we should go get our nails done, or hey, how you doing, or hey, I ain't talked to you, you know I'm just checking up on you. Oh, now you're checking up on me, but you should have checked up on me when you know you came at me sideways. You came at me sideways. So normalize, and as far as like people should normalize to apologize, normalize for holding those people accountable. It's okay to tell them like, nah, bro, what you did was messed up. Like, what you did, you shouldn't have said it, and I'm not okay with it. And until you can find out the real reason why, then we can have a conversation. Or until you can apologize, then you can have that conversation. I'm gonna get last example, very last example. So I was working, and this is like the example, like setting boundaries with your coworkers, because this is like the perfect example. Um, I was working with a girl, and I became very close with her. Like we would text, we laughed. I mean, we would talk about everything, everything. Like she became like a big sister to me. She became a big sister to me. And eventually I had moved. I moved. She moved to a different state. Um, and eventually I had moved um, as well. And it just so happened that we both moved and we ended up working together again. So we ended up working together again. And this was somebody, when I found out that we were going to be working together, I vouched for her. I was like, oh my gosh, like she's the best. I love her. She's like a big sister. I talk to her all the time. I really like went hard for this person. And when we started working together, she changed. She changed. And it was a situation where she lied, and she lied to make herself look better. And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, you're supposed to be like my big sister. You mentored me, into who I am as the worker in this industry, and you flipped on me. Like how could you do that? And it just so happens I quit. I quit. And I stopped talking to her. And in the time being, she would always ask my old coworkers like, "Oh, have you talked to her? Oh, how is she doing? Oh, have you talked to her? Does she talk about me?" And I posted something on Instagram about, I think it was like a cake or maybe like my new job or something like that. I had moved to LA, and she said I don't she wrote me and she said I don't understand why, what went wrong or what I did wrong. And I said, well, for one, you lied. And not only did you lied to make me look bad and to make you look good. And I didn't appreciate that. I didn't appreciate the fact that you were supposed to, one, be my friend, two, you're my coworker, and like I really cherish our friendship, and you lied. And she said, "Oh, I don't really remember. I, you know, she was like, I don't understand." And I said to her, I said, the fact that you don't understand what you did wrong is the problem. And that is the same reason why I cannot continue to have a friendship with you or allow you to be in my life at the same capacity that we were before. Period. Period. Like, sorry. But when you come to the realization of what you did wrong, when you can physically remember how I remember it, what you did wrong, and you can come to me and be like, you know what, I thought about it and I messed up, I was wrong, like an adult, then, we can slowly start working our way back to that. But until then, no. Sorry. I can't. I can't. I just can't. So I would just say, again, reflect on like the friendships that you have, reflect on the relationships that you have, and normalize setting boundaries, normalize holding your friends accountable, normalize holding your family accountable, normalize holding anyone that you have in your life accountable, normalize setting boundaries, normalize understanding what certain relationships in your life look like. And that doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. These are conversations that I have every day with everyday people, because it needs to be talked about more. Yeah. Um, so I really appreciate you guys taking the time, watching my videos, lounging out with me. Um, if there's certain topics you guys want me to talk about, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. You know, drop a comment, drop a topic in the comments. But again, thank you for hanging out, lounging with Drea, and I will talk to you guys soon.